Support our
Okay. Oops. Marianne is our second speaker tonight. Anne Burrows is a DTM3, Distinguished Toastmasters, 3 times accomplished. She will be giving her speech from the Effective Coaching Pathway, Level 1. The purpose of the speech is to deliver a speech using vocal variety and body language. Sometimes in life, as soon as we do something, we realize that's not a good idea. The timing of this speech is also 5 to 7 minutes. Let's welcome Anne Burrows. What was I thinking?
A young fellow named George had just gotten his driver's license, and he took the family car out for the evening. When he came back, he walked into the living room and he said to his father, "Dad, I think there's some water in the carburetor." The dad said, "What? Water in the carburetor? You don't even know what a carburetor is. Why do you think that?" He said, "Well, Dad, I think there is water in the carburetor." The father said, "But why?" He said, "Well, as I was pulling into the driveway, I got to the top of the driveway, and instead of putting my foot on the brake, I put my foot on the gas and I drove the car into the swimming pool. So you see, Dad, I think there's some water in the carburetor." Have you ever done anything where the moment you did it, you thought, "What was I thinking?" I know I sure have, and I'd like to share a story with you. A number of years back, my daughter and I went on a cruise together. Now, I'd never been on a cruise, so I was so excited. I remember boarding the ship and all the thrill and the excitement and the anticipation. And if you've ever been on a cruise, it's really special. They make your bed every morning, and at night they pull down the sheets and put a chocolate on your pillowcase. There's food beautifully prepared on the ship in many different areas. Delicious, sensuously yummy, and colorful and beautiful. And in the evening, they had a sit-down dinner. And if you didn't like your entree, just tell them. They would take it back and bring you something else. And you really like that dessert? Ask for another. They'll bring it right to you. And there's all kind of entertainment going on the ship all day long. You can gamble, you can dance, you can do crafting, whatever you like. And then you can also have entertainment in the evening. Sometimes it's a Cirque du Soleil. Another time it would be a magic show. Always things to entertain you. And then when you stop at the different ports along the way, there are different activities you can sign up for. Now, these do have an extra amount of money that is required. So you want to make sure you pick the ones that are really appealing to you. So my daughter and I checked out all the possibilities and we picked a couple. One was to swim with the dolphins, which was absolutely fascinatingly wonderful. And I love the water and I love animals, so that was very cool. And then we also went snorkeling. Again, been on my bucket list for a long time. The way it worked, we got on the boat, it drove to a certain location, and en route to the location, they began to hand out all of the equipment we would need, our fins, our life jacket, and our goggles. Here's a picture of what I look like all ready to get in the water. Now, I'm a good swimmer and I enjoy being in the water, so I thought this would be a no-brainer. When I got in the water, I realized that with the goggles on, I needed to breathe a certain way. And I could tell I really didn't have this down pat. Fortunately, the way this particular excursion went, you would go to one location, swim around for a while, then get back on the boat and they would take you to another location. So I made sure before we got to the next location that I knew what I was doing with the breathing. And the second half of the excursion was much more comfortable. We saw sea turtles and fish and beautiful coral. Then they called us back into the boat. And then we had to turn in all of our equipment. It was right about that time I realized that I was parched. It was a hot, sunny day and all that unusual breathing going on. Oh, I felt like a dog who had run 100 miles, panting away. That moment, I looked up and I saw this huge vat of this orange drink stuff. Now, normally I would never drink anything like that, but that day, oh, did that look good? I went over, I poured a huge glass of that orange drink, and I gulped it down as quickly as possible. Right around that time, my daughter walked over to me and she said, "Mom, are you sure you want to do that? Because you're not really supposed to drink water in a foreign country because their water quality is very different than ours." Well, her words were like standing in there, sitting in the air, just hanging there. And it was like I heard the words, but they didn't penetrate my thinking mind. I don't know if it was my reptilian brain that was needing to have liquids to keep me alive, but I poured another glass of that orange drink and I gulped it down just as fast as the first one. And it wasn't but a few moments when I realized, what was I thinking? As I ran to the ladies' room, and as quickly as I gulped down that orange drink, it came flowing out of me. I tried to get it in the trash can the best way I could. And then I tried to clean myself up in the room, but they didn't have any paper towels. They just had those nice blow dryers. Right about that time, they started to announce that we had to leave the ship. So I didn't even get a chance to tell them how sorry I was for the mess I made. Now, though that night I looked pretty peaked and I was pretty tired the rest of the day, fortunately, I felt fine the next day. But boy, did I learn something from that. Number one, don't ever drink the Kool-Aid. And isn't it interesting that sometimes logic doesn't click in until you don't need it anymore? Madam Toastmaster.